I'm Julian Kirkman-Page. I've been a member of Club Soda for quite some time now, a few years. I've got to say, I think this is, from all of the groups that I've come across, has to be the absolute best on the planet. Not only from the group that's there, but all the work Laura does and the other administrators. Really is a superb group. So if you've just joined, or if you haven't been a member very long, you're absolutely in the right hands to find some help. So tonight I'm going to start talking a bit about relapses and what it's like to have a relapse, what you should say to somebody who's had a relapse. But I'll first just give you a very quick overview of me, because some of you will have already seen previous videos, but for those of you who are new, so as I say, I'm Julian. I gave up alcohol just over 5 years ago. I was an alcoholic. I didn't realise it at the time, but I only knew I was an alcoholic after I'd quit. And that's because I realised how dependent I was on alcohol, and how it drove every single decision, everything I was doing, every part of my day. So I wasn't the alcoholic that I thought an alcoholic was, which was someone who was drinking, opening the fridge every morning, getting a bottle of wine for breakfast, a complete, absolute wreck all the time. I was just someone who was drinking 2.5 bottles of wine a day, missing out on huge parts of my life, and didn't appreciate to what an extent it was just dictating me and destroying me until I quit. Now, I'm not someone who can talk about moderating. I've tried moderating, but not seriously so. I'm the sort of, was the sort of drunk, we'd wake up on a Sunday morning feeling absolutely terrible with a hangover and do the I'm never going to drink again type moderating, and that would probably last a few hours. If I was lucky, it would last till the following morning or following lunchtime. So I'm not the sort of person who's ever able to moderate. It wasn't something I could even dream of doing, so there's no point even thinking about it. I'm somebody who suddenly realised that I'd had enough of living a life of alcohol, and in my mid-50s decided I was never, ever going to drink again, gave up, and that's the end of it. And if anybody had told me, or if I'd found a book or anything else that told me how wonderful life was without alcohol, I'd have done it years and years and years before. But I didn't. Nobody mentioned it to me. No one recognised, or apart from my wife, didn't realise I was an alcoholic. I didn't seek help. You don't come across books unless you're looking for them. And so it is very, very hard to actually find out what life is going to be like without alcohol. So I've written 2 books, one of which covers that. That book is called One Less for the Road. Is There Life After Alcohol? And that tells you really what I've discovered since I gave up drink. So just how fantastic life is. And the other book I've written is called I Don't Drink, which is How to Quit Alcohol. And that takes you through the methodology that I use, which is what I developed myself to quit, which worked for me and has now worked for, I know, many thousands of others. So I'm very happy to advertise those, because all the proceeds, literally everything, every penny, goes to a fantastic charity at St Martin in the Fields, who look after the homeless. And that's incidentally where I was today. I don't know what kind of day you've had in the snow. I didn't let it bother me. My wife and I went for a lovely walk in the park. We then went up to town. I went for a swim at Marshall Street to South Carmody Street, while my wife went around the shops. And then we went down to Trafalgar Square. We were hoping, because it's Patrick's Day, there was a huge event going on in the square, but the cold had kept a lot of people away. I was expecting to find drunken Irishmen on every corner. In fact, nearly everybody I saw dressed up as an Irishman was Chinese, which was extremely amusing, all with their green pointy hats, being extremely jolly, walking around, but all of them Chinese and speaking Chinese. So quite what all that was about, I don't know, but that's London for you, which is just an absolute joy. So that was very nice. We went to a couple of exhibitions, a gallery, and then home. So a really, really nice, eventful day. In the past, I might well have been part of that St Patrick's Day celebration and probably been on 5 or 6 pints of Guinness and suffering for it tomorrow. But no, the most I've had is a nice cup of tea at the National Portrait Gallery. So that was lovely. So the subject I wanted to talk to, as I say, tonight is having a relapse. And I want to base that on a true story. So bear with me that I'll go through it. A couple of weeks ago, I went to an evening dinner, and a friend of mine I hadn't seen for a while, very, very good friend of mine, came up, and the first thing he did was hug me. And he couldn't stop hugging me, and he started crying. And I said, "Whoa, why? What's the matter?" And he said, "My wife's finally given up drink." And this man was just so overjoyed, and he couldn't get over the fact that I'd been able to help her. Now, the background story is I went to an event mid last year, and they were both there, and I happened to notice that his wife was going round the tables towards the end of the evening, drinking whatever wine she could find. Doesn't matter. Someone was dancing and they left their glass there. She was knocking that back. The sort of thing I'd done countless times. And she ended up talking to me, and I said, "Oh, I noticed you're doing what I used to do." And she said, "You saw me?" I said, "Yeah, I spot things like that because I've been there and done that." And she said, "I've got a major problem. I drink too much and it's destroying me." So I offered to talk to her, and she wasn't really ready to talk in depth. So I promised I'd send her my books for Christmas, which I did. And she read them, and she gave up on the 5th of January. And that's why my friend was so over the moon. And what he said to me is it's absolutely revolutionized her life and their lives. He said, "You wouldn't believe what she'd been like, the problems that he'd had, that they'd actually been near divorce, even though she didn't do that. He just couldn't take it anymore. And now he had this fantastic new person." He said, "You've given me my wife back." So it was a great story, and I had tears in my eyes, not only for him, but also the fact I'd been able to help somebody. It was just such a wonderful feeling, if you can imagine. That was great. Anyway, I learned last week that she'd had a relapse, and she'd gone back on the bottle. She's back off again, I'm glad to say, but she'd had a relapse. And he asked if I'd be prepared to have a word with her, which I haven't had a chance to yet, because I'd rather not do that on the phone. So what should I say to her? What do you think I should say to her? And it'd be interesting to get any of your feedback. I know I'm going to be quite harsh. That's my way. And I actually say in my book that somewhere in here there's a whole bit that says, if you fail, if you have a glass of wine, once you've committed to give up forever, that's it. You failed. You go back to the beginning. And I encourage people to keep things like the star chart, to keep a log of why they've given up, all sorts of things to help them and motivate them through that giving up process, or through that process once they've quit. And my view is that's it. You go back to the beginning again. It's no point saying, "Oh, I did 3 weeks. I've really given up. I just had one of it." I'm sorry, if you have a drink, you're a drinker. It's a very, very hard thing to say, but I think you've got to have a hard approach. There's no point taking an ambi sort of, "It doesn't matter. I know you had a bit of stress and so you gave in to alcohol." You could just carry on, keep doing it. Because once you allow that attitude to take over, you'll be back, and that habit will come back, and you will be, "Doesn't really matter. As long as I'm not drinking that much, I'm achieving something." And that voice in your head will start telling you, it doesn't matter if you fail, because you can pick yourself up again. You can carry on as you were. It doesn't matter. You can still say to people you don't drink because you don't drink beer. So it doesn't matter. Well, yes, it does matter. In my view, once you've quit, you quit forever. If you drink, you failed. Now, because I was going to say this morning, I laid in bed this morning thinking, okay, I've done 5 years, 3 months. I've actually looked it up because I still keep my chart going. I've done 1,904 days without drink, which is fantastic. Let's say I went out tonight and I met some old friends and they said, "Look, Julian, I've just won the lottery and everything else. We're going to have some Dom Perignon. You have some Dom Perignon," which was my absolute favourite drink. Would I then be right tomorrow to say, "Oh, it was only once. I'll carry on saying I don't drink. And I thought, well, that 5 years is a hell of a lot to turn my back on. It's a lot to then go back and say, actually, I've given up drink as of tomorrow and I've done a day. I could tell people that, yeah, I actually did 5 years and I failed and then I started again, which doesn't sound very good. But would I be right to hide the fact that I've had that drink? And I think, to be honest, the answer is no. I would have to start again. I'd have to be true to what I said in my book, and I'm true with anybody else. And so I asked, the font of all knowledge in my house, I asked my wife. And I explained the scenario, and I said, tonight I'm going to go out, have a few drinks. After 5 years, what would you feel? And her initial reaction was that she'd feel very sorry for me. I thought, okay, that's interesting. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting you to be cross or dismissive. She said, oh, I feel sorry for you because you wanted to try and achieve this thing. You've achieved a fantastic thing and you've failed. You've let yourself down. I feel sorry for you, which was actually probably worse than being pretending to be angry. But then she did start getting angry with the thought of it. She said, no, you have failed. And I said, well, what if we then went out and I said to somebody, I don't drink. She said, you'd be a liar. She said, and I wouldn't let you do that. She said, you'd have to say, I'm sorry, I failed. And I might not drink now, but I've only done a day. And she said, and you'd have to prove yourself in years before I'd get back to the point where I'd feel confident with you saying to people, you don't drink anymore. So that's pretty tough after 5 years, and I think she's right. Once you've given up, that's it. You give up. You give up forever. So no, there is no coming back. As far as there is no wimping out. And so I know if I have a drink, that's it. I'm back to square one. And so will you be. You're back to square one. So what am I going to say to this friend of mine? Yes, I'm going to be hard. But I'm going to explain to her just how my friend reacted when he'd found that she wasn't good or she'd given up drink. And I want her to really feel that, and I want her to cry her eyes out because I want her to know the impact that her drink is having on her husband and therefore other people around her, regardless of what it's doing to herself. I don't know the circumstances as to why she started again. It's immaterial. As far as I'm concerned, she started again. And she has to stop again. Otherwise, she'll lose everything. And she has to understand that. And it's why I ask people in those first days of giving up to write down what you're feeling, write down the wonder that you're finding, the freedom that you're discovering, all the things that you're doing that you weren't able to do before as you start feeling better, losing weight, feeling great, going out, saving money, all these fantastic things. Write it down. So you've got the evidence you can go back to. That's the sort of stuff you're ripping up and chucking away if you have a relapse. Do the star chart. Have it up there. It's visual. It's fantastic. Do the spreadsheet that I keep as well. I log things that I do and things that I achieve. Because you press delete if you have a drink. You chuck it away. There's no point keeping it. You've failed. So keep that log because all of that helps to keep that horrible voice in your head at bay and shut the thing up. So that's what I'm going to say to my friend. I'm just looking at some of the things coming ahead. Someone said, well, how big a relapse? As far as I'm concerned, a relapse is anything. It's a glass of wine is a relapse. I'm going to have a sip of water now. If that was a sip of champagne to celebrate with somebody, as far as I'm concerned, just drink. But the interesting thing again is when I was laying in bed this morning, thinking, what would I feel? Would I, if I did have a relapse? I suddenly realised that the question is completely academic because I wouldn't want a drink, and I don't want a drink ever again. What I found, and what you will find, is that having a drink, that the thought of having alcohol will become anathema. It'll be something. It's like, for me, it would be like trying cocaine or trying heroin. which I have no instant. You realise, forget the taste of the wine or the taste of the beer or how much you love cider, all the things which I loved. You get to the point where you realise that there's something in there, there's a drug in there, which is a mind-bending drug, which changes you, changes the way you act, changes the way you feel, changes what you do, and begins to wreck your life very, very quickly. And you begin to hate that stuff. And so it becomes completely academic, that thought of, would I have a drink? There's absolutely no way. Yes, I might have a nice Dom Perignon tasting non-alcoholic wine if I was absolutely guaranteed that there's no alcohol in it. That'd be quite nice. And yeah, I actually don't like the taste because I don't like the sugar elements of it, but I do try the non-alcohol beers, zero alcohol beers, I have done, and the zero alcohol ones. And some are great for the right occasion if you feel we need to. No problem with that. But absolutely anything with alcohol, I wouldn't be interested. So, yep, there's some people saying they think it's a very harsh approach. I agree, it is a harsh approach. It's my approach. I know if you go to AA, if you go to some rehab and things like that, and you have a relapse, they talk about why you did. They have a nice, very gentle approach. And if that's what you feel you need in life, fine. That wouldn't work with me. And I know a lot of the people that I've talked to, and people on the same journey as me, it doesn't work, that nice approach. I've got a friend who gave up for a year. Was extremely proud he was. He went out with some friends, he relapsed, back on the booze. And he said no one told him off about it. No one made a big song and dance. He's now drinking as much as he ever was again. He really wished someone had really picked him up and said, look, that's it, mate. You start again. That's it. Get back to where you were. He said people just said, oh, you did a year. Aren't you clever? So I think you actually do have to be harsh, but that's my approach. So it's not for everybody, which is another reason that I don't talk about moderating and going down the moderating route, because I couldn't. It has to be all or nothing. I had a question, am I ever tempted to have a drink? Well, you just heard my views on the fact that there's alcohol, and the fact that it's now something I consider like a cocaine or heroin I wouldn't be interested in having. And am I tempted? Sometimes I think about alcohol. I used to smoke, and I gave up 25 years ago, but sometimes you watch an old movie, particularly the old Second World War movies, the ones made in the 50s just afterwards, and you see the guys, and after a battle or whatever, they're sitting there and they're having a cigarette to get over the stress, and it's obviously they're having it to get over the stress of what they've been through. And I think, yeah, if I was in that situation, a cigarette would be quite nice, but only because I used to smoke. Actually, the reality is I can't stand the smell of cigarettes anymore. It would make me sick. It's the last thing I want. It's the thought, it's that mental image that you have of yourself smoking, which is nice to capture every now and again. I certainly wouldn't want a cigarette. And it's like that with drink. Sometimes see a film or whatever, and you think, oh yeah, that'd be really nice to be on a boat in the Caribbean and there's the ice cold wine. Wouldn't that be great? You have a glass of wine. But I instantly think, well, actually, I'd rather have a cup of tea or a nice fresh glass of water than the wine, because I know it wouldn't be one glass of wine, it'd be a bottle of wine that I then feel rotten, feel a bit stupid later. I'd probably go and do something stupid anyway, I'd be rude to somebody. I wouldn't be able to go scuba diving or anything else out in that wonderful environment. So what on earth's the point of having a drink? So I wouldn't even be tempted. But yes, every now and again I get flashes, vision of wouldn't this be nice, wouldn't that be nice? But as I say, that's purely because I've been there, done that, I've experienced it. And I do look back on the days when I drank, and some of the experiences I had with amusement, which is why I write funny stories about them. Some of the funniest times I've had, some of the greatest times I had with my brother who died from alcohol were when we were drunk. So as I'm walking back from the station, I actually walk along the railway line here in Beckenham, and I know I used to play on those rails with my brother. When we'd had some cider or whatever, we'd be out there on the railway. How irresponsible is that? incredibly responsible. You know, with the electric rail, let's jump over that stuff. Really, really stupid stuff. But in a way, they were happy times because my brother was older than me and I was following him along, and you know, I was tagging along and being part of his little gang. It's horrendous stuff. So yes, I've been there, done that. Would I want to do any of that stuff again? No. And then I look back at the things I've lost out on because of alcohol. And it's interesting, I've got two daughters going through changes at work and doing all sorts of things and looking at their career, and I try and give them advice and help on their career. And I can see them going through fantastic milestones in life that I missed out on because of drink. They've both been to university, got degrees, doing extremely well. And I know that they're not going to go into the office drunk after lunch, make fools of themselves and get sacked, which happened to me. They're not going to forget to do stuff or not take up opportunities because of drink, which has all happened to me. So no, yeah, I do get flashbacks, think about drink, but not from a point that I would ever have. I can see someone else's. They wish someone had been harsh with them. Someone is saying, this is Nicola, saying she ended up worse than when she'd been previously stopped because she had a relapse. So yeah, I think it depends on who you are. I think, to be honest, if you're truly committed to giving up drink and you have a relapse, you want somebody to be harsh with you. If you're actually committed to giving up drink, I think anyone taking that soft approach is just letting you give in to stuff. And there's enough softness in the world anyway. If I put my old man's hat on for a minute, something that's made me quite cross recently is the whole Mother's Day event. And I did put a blog up, I don't know if anybody saw it, but I saw the Moonpig advert, and I don't know if you've seen that for Mother's Day, and they have a card that's been written obviously by a little kid for her, dear mummy, happy Mother's Day. And they have various gifts on the poster, which is obviously things that mother would like. And there's a box of chocolates and some flowers, and there's a great big bottle of gin. Now that message, I know the advert is aimed at somebody who's got internet access, so they can go and buy a gift for mother. But it's obviously a gift coming from a kid. So that's sending a message that gin is a thing for mums. And that was followed up when I walked into Waitrose on the evening of Mother's Day. And as you go in, they have all the flowers and chocolates and things like that, you know, sort of don't forget. And they had all these different flavoured gins and vodkas and things like that. And I thought, oh God, here we go again. It's force drink onto everybody. So my gripe is with the drink aware type people. I mean, maybe their brief is make drink more aware, as opposed to making people aware of the horrors of drink, because they certainly don't seem to be doing a good job. In fact, they're doing an appalling job, because I remember when I was a kid, if you got Mother's Day adverts, it was always chocolates and flowers and perfume. It was never booze, never ever booze. So it's this whole thing of society is getting into the thing where drink is everywhere, drink's the thing to have, is actually appalling, and it needs to be nailed on the head right now. It's a shame, actually, I wasn't able to go to the Parliament thing that Laura very kindly invited me to last week. Otherwise engaged, otherwise I would have been there, because I'd like to have collared some of my MPs on this whole subject. Because it is government that has to set these things. It was very interesting. I've been doing some blogs about my experience in India. And one of the things I noticed this time is that nobody smokes in India, certainly in the states that I went to. It's been banned by the government totally in public. They just had enough of it, from waste and the poisons and everything else that's done. And you just don't see anybody smoke. And that's a country like China where everybody smoked, or certainly all the guys did. You know, everybody was smoking. It was just in your face everywhere. So to go there, it was just so clean. The air was so wonderful in comparison to what it used to be. And that even in the remote parts was quite fantastic. And again, that's something they should do here. You know, why should it? You know, secondary smoking, proven to be bad people, put the dictate in, you can't do it. Don't have adverts to drink. It might be another sort of nagging hard approach and everything else like that. But, you know, I was someone who was brought up on booze because my mum didn't know any better, and drink was everywhere. You could buy it in the off licence when you're 14. I know that now it's more controls on it, but the adverts are still there. So they need to bring that sort of stuff in and stop people doing it. So what else can I talk to you about? I made some other notes. I had a couple of other questions. Yeah, I talked earlier on about how would I react after my 5 years. How long did it take me to get to the stage where I knew I would never drink again, and where I just hated alcohol, the whole idea of alcohol so much that I wouldn't have it. And I'd say it was just over a year. Now that doesn't mean you're going to be dying for a drink for a year. I didn't want to drink from the day I gave up. But I think in terms of realizing that true inner, in-depth realization that I was never going to drink again was about a year. And I say a year because in a year you've had holidays where you're not drinking. You've been to probably parties, you've met with friends, you've had discussions with people. You've got enough time, enough experience to realize all the fantastic things about not drinking. Your body has completely changed. Certainly, if you look at the changes that happened to me, I lost a huge amount of weight. I had type 2 diabetes, which went away. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, that went away. I had psoriasis, which I had on my face, my arms, my knees and everywhere. All of that went away. I couldn't walk properly. I now swim a mile every day. I run. I want to do all sorts of things which I wasn't able to do because I was a total physical wreck and a very, very old man. All of that completely changed. By the end of the time you've done a year, you've got so much evidence, so much built up inside. You think, why on earth would I want to go back and chuck any of that away? And you also start to realise what it is in the drink. Because, yeah, you do talk to people, you do start reading stuff, particularly if you're a member of this wonderful group. You do come across other people's tales and some of the more scientific things about what's going on in your head. And you realise what this drug alcohol is doing to you. So all of that, as I say, you turn to realise that I see a glass of wine, I don't see a glass of wine, it's something that tastes nice. I see blobs of it, of this clear alcohol, which I know is going to bend my mind. Why would I want to swallow that rubbish? Not interested. So it's about a year. But I say the caveat on that is literally from day one, you will start noticing benefits. Literally from day one. Certainly within a week. So physical, real positive physical benefits. And the freedom of your mind is instant once you've just got this wash off your shoulders that you're not beholden to alcohol anymore. So it's yeah, that's about how long it takes. Let's see if there's any other questions. No, people seem to be either listening or that they've had enough because I'm too aggressive and shouting at people too much about giving up. So let me just see if there's anything else I'll cover. I think if you're still dithering and still wondering whether you should give up forever or whether you should try this moderating or not, I think you've got to ask yourself why it is you want to change your drinking habits, why it is you really want to quit. You've got to find that real reason and that real commitment. But write it down. Make notes about the things that you're not happy about in your life, because you can come back to those notes if you're ever tempted for this relapse bit. Look at that and think, these are all the reasons I wanted to give up. Why am I going back to this? God. So write them down. But really get that determination. And think what it is. What is it that's holding you back from making that big commitment? Because any of you having joined Club Soda, there's obviously something about your life and your life with alcohol that you're not happy. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here at all. So what is it? What is holding you back? Is it friends? You worry about what they'll say? Because if you've got friends like that, they're friends you don't need. Is it a fear of the unknown? Because all I can say with you, the unknown is wonderful, and it is an unknown. Because I had, after 4 years of drinking before I gave up, I had no idea what life was going to be like. Absolutely no idea. So yeah, it is unknown. But from blogs like mine, from books like mine, from a lot of the feedback and other people on Club Soda, you'll get all of that. those stories as to what life is like. And I've never met anybody ever who says, I'd rather go back to drinking. It just doesn't happen. So I'm going to sign off. It's 7:30. I'm going to go and have dinner. I wish you all well. I'm very happy for if you want to put questions to me through my website, idon'tdrink.net, or through Club Soda. Very, very happy to answer and come back to you, any of those things. But have a wonderful evening, wonderful rest of the month, and a wonderful Easter coming up, and make it a sober, happy, and healthy one. Bye, folks.